Imagine standing alone at dawn on a windswept hill in southeastern Turkey, your hands pressed against the cool limestone of a T-shaped pillar that towers 5.5 meters above you. The stone is carved with foxes, scorpions, and birds, so lifelike they seem to stir in the first light. You can feel the precise edges where ancient hands shaped them, the weight of 20 tons balanced perfectly in a perfect circle. And in that moment, the realization hits you like cold water. This monumental complex should not exist at all for its era. 11,500 years ago, when the rest of humanity was still moving in small bands of hunter-gatherers with nothing but stone tools and seasonal camps, someone here quarried, transported, and erected these megaliths with a sophistication that feels impossibly advanced. Most ancient sites fit neatly into the textbook story of slow, steady progress after farming began. This one quietly shatters it. The closer you look, the louder the explanatory tension becomes. Today, we are opening the explanatory blacklist for the one structure that forces us to question the entire timeline of human civilization. For more than 2 decades now, I have crawled through these enclosures, measured the carvings, and watched mainstream explanations strain under the weight of the physical evidence. I am not a theorist in an office. I am the kind of field worker who has spent years with my hands on these stones, documenting every chisel mark and alignment, while grant-funded models try to tidy them away. And after all that time, one truth stands out. Göbekli Tepe remains the structure that still feels ahead of its time, even after decades of careful excavation. It is the ultimate blacklist example in ancient monumental engineering because every layer of data only deepens the mystery instead of resolving it. What we are about to examine is not speculation. It is the hard, measurable reality the stones themselves keep forcing us to confront. For generations, textbooks and most archaeologists have taught a single clean sequence: complex monumental architecture, organized labor, symbolic art, and large-scale stonework only appear after the Neolithic Revolution. The story goes that agriculture, settled villages, pottery, and eventually metal tools first gave people the food surplus and technological base needed to build big. Hunter-gatherers, the reasoning runs, were simply too primitive, too mobile, and too resource-poor for anything like this. They wandered in small groups following game and wild plants. They lacked the social hierarchy, the storage systems, and the spare manpower required to move 20-ton blocks or coordinate hundreds of workers year after year. Civilization, we were told, began when people stopped roaming and started farming. Only then could they afford the luxury of temples and monuments. That has been the comfortable narrative, repeated in classrooms and documentaries for decades. Yet right here, carved into the bedrock around 9600 BCE, stands the visually spectacular feature everyone praises: massive T-shaped limestone pillars, some reaching 6 meters tall and weighing between 10 and 20 tons, arranged in precise circles up to 20 meters across. The central pair in each enclosure towers over the rest, while the surrounding ring of pillars faces inward like silent guardians. Every surface is covered with sophisticated animal reliefs and geometric symbols, executed in high relief with a confidence that belongs to much later periods. All of this was erected when humans were still nomadic foragers. There is no evidence of farming or permanent settlements anywhere nearby. The people who built it had no wheels, no draft animals, and no metal tools. They were living exactly as the textbooks say hunter-gatherers should have lived: lightly, seasonally, without the infrastructure that supposedly makes monumental architecture possible. And yet here it is, standing in perfect circles, demanding an explanation. The deeper you go into the engineering and logistical details, the more uncomfortable the picture becomes. These pillars were quarried from the local limestone plateau just 100 meters away, using nothing but flint points to peck out the shapes, then levered free from the bedrock. Workers had to transport them uphill without wheels or animals, shape them on site, and erect them with perfect stability inside circular enclosures, whose benches are leveled to within centimeters across the entire diameter. The central pillars are aligned with astronomical precision in some cases, while the carvings, foxes, scorpions, cranes, boars, snakes, vultures, and abstract H-shaped symbols form a sophisticated symbolic program that repeats across multiple enclosures. And then there is the final, almost incomprehensible act. Shortly after construction, the entire complex was deliberately backfilled with thousands of tons of rubble and earth, an operation that required as much organized labor as the building itself. Every one of these steps, quarrying, moving, carving, aligning, and burying, represents a level of planning, coordination, and technical skill that the standard timeline insists should not exist for another 5,000 or 6,000 years. The standard hunter-gatherers with simple tools narrative only solves the postcard view from a distance. Step closer and it collapses under real-world physics and logistics. Moving and erecting a single 20-ton pillar would have required hundreds of coordinated people working for weeks or months. Yet no villages, no storage silos, and no agricultural fields existed to feed or house them. The symbolic program implies shared knowledge, perhaps even a calendar or cosmological system far beyond what small mobile bands are supposed to possess. The geometric precision of the enclosures, perfectly circular walls, level benches, and aligned pillars, demands surveying skills and repeated labor that nomadic groups should never have had the time or organization to achieve. Official explanations gloss over these contradictions by suggesting occasional gatherings or ritual feasts, but the physical scale of the stonework and the repeated pattern of construction, use, and burial simply do not fit the lightweight, low-surplus society we are told existed here. The closer you examine the stones themselves, the more the usual answer feels incomplete. The strongest evidence comes from the measurable, on-site facts that peer-reviewed excavations by the German Archaeological Institute have documented for decades. Radiocarbon dates from charcoal in the mortar, and animal bones lock the main enclosures firmly between 9600 and 8800 BCE. Three-dimensional laser scans and photogrammetry reveal sub-centimeter precision in pillar alignment and carving depth across distances of many meters. More than 200 pillars have now been identified through geophysical surveys, meaning the total volume of stone moved exceeds anything else known from this period. There is still no evidence of contemporary domestic structures or farming within dozens of kilometers during the peak construction phase. And the repeated pattern, build the enclosure, use it, then intentionally backfill it with rubble and start again, has been confirmed layer by layer. These are not theories. They are the hard data from decades of careful, peer-reviewed work. Yet even the excavators acknowledge that these facts have never been fully reconciled with the pre-agricultural timeline. The stones keep delivering the same quiet verdict. This should not have been possible. What this one structure forces us to reconsider is nothing less than the entire sequence of human civilization. Monumental architecture and complex symbolic thinking may not have followed agriculture. They may have come first, possibly driving the invention of farming rather than the other way around. Perhaps the need to gather large groups for these projects created the pressure that eventually led to domestication of plants and animals. Perhaps the organizational knowledge required to plan and execute such works represents capabilities, technical, social, or conceptual, that the comfortable historical narrative still cannot accommodate. Göbekli Tepe quietly suggests that history may be less settled than we were taught, that certain sites belong in a different category from ordinary ruins. The explanatory tension only intensifies the longer you stand among the pillars. The counterstrike for ancient mysteries is simple. Respect the sites that refuse to fit the simple story instead of forcing flashy modern reconstructions or dismissing the tension. Stop accepting explanations that only work from a distance. When the stones themselves create real logistical or engineering problems that the timeline cannot solve, keep questioning the textbook version. The people who have actually worked with these megaliths, the ones who have measured every millimeter and watched the data accumulate, know the truth. Göbekli Tepe is not an anomaly to be explained away. It is the structure that still feels ahead of its time because the evidence demands it. Stay curious. The next time you stand before a monument that feels too advanced for its era, remember this hill in Turkey. The stones are still speaking.